All right, it's a couple minutes early, but I have a few viewers and I thought I would start. And if you join later, that's totally fine. I'm just going to go over some basic stuff at the beginning. First of all, I posted the link to today's video, but I'm going to delete this because one of my big goals for this semester is to keep things very organized and make sure the stream isn't cluttered. So sometimes if I post a very temporary reminder, I'll just delete it later because this link is in the classwork and it's going to be in the permanent playlist that hopefully will be useful for some of you guys. Here's the link for today, by the way. The classwork is only in classwork. I've made it so it's not on the stream because the stream is, like I said, too cluttered with different things. And another aspect of that organization is it's all going to be the same title. So this flowchart example is going to be exactly the same thing that shows up in PowerSchool. And it's also exactly the same thing that is the title of the video you're watching right now. So if somebody came later and said, hey, I've got a 0 in the gradebook, they'll be able to find the classroom post with the same title, and they'll be able to find the video with the same title. It should also be linked inside of each one to each other. So through both methods, you should be able to stay on track and not have the issue of like somebody emailing me a month from now to say, hey, I'm missing that flowchart thing. Where is it? They should be able to know exactly where it is because it's got the same name, it's in the same order, all that stuff. So anyway, quick review. Since my video last time was not, it was just an example of flowcharts in general, but our project this quarter is going to be similar to last time where it's on this CXD, which is a IUPUI thing called Computing by Design. They have lots of great projects. We did the trivia one. Now we're doing the chatbot, which is it's going to have a group. You're going to have a topic. You're going to have a template. Similar style, even though it's totally different stuff happening. So if you click Introduction and look through some of this, that might be a good idea. We're not starting quite yet. It's going to be in a few days, but if you want to look ahead, I will not stop you. The only thing I'll say is that the way they show it is it says web-based chatbot to raise awareness of a health issue. And so it would be like, oh, it's about diabetes or alcoholism. And you can do that, but I'm going to say you can make the topic more wide open. You can choose to make it about something else as well. And actually the examples on here of like other classes that have done those, most of them did the same, where they would do topics like, you know, what should I have for lunch or whatever, just kind of open-ended stuff. And if you want to do one of these health issues, you can, because I mean, obviously they're important and obviously they fit the structure pretty well. If you're doing like, what would you like to know? And then you ask a question and it says, oh, here's a branch of this investigation we're going down, and you can ask further questions. Or it can be asking about you, like, hey, do you have a family history of this thing? Or do you eat 5 fruits and vegetables? Blah, blah, blah. So just know that when we do the topic, hey, I got more viewers. Hopefully I'm going to remember to look at the chat. If you ever have a question, I'll see that. And we're going to go through some of these steps, like kind of brainstorming ideas and then putting it together and then testing it out and so on. It's going to be a little more in-depth than last project. For example, one thing we talked about last time very quickly was the idea of a target audience. I just said for your multiple choice trivia, just assume you're giving it to another student. So this person would have the same device and they would have pretty much the same knowledge. But for this one, it might be a different target audience. So you can make a chatbot that's meant to help older people, or that's meant to help kids, or, you know, something where it's not quite designing for your peers. And that might make a difference in terms of what they have or what they know or what they can do. We'll have that extra step this time. So anyway, if you guys want to click through that, you can, and I have the link, and we'll start to look at it in a few days. But I thought I would start with just a more general idea, which is the idea of flowcharts. If you have a chatbot, which is going to be our thing, it's going to ask questions, and then based on what the person says, it's going to go down different avenues of, oh, they answered yes to this, well, then we're going to ask a follow-up question. Or they answered no to this, well, then we're going to ask the next most likely thing. And one way to visualize that, which is not the only way, because once we get into it, we'll notice that the way code works is not exactly the same as the way human conversation works, which is not exactly the same as the way a flowchart works, but they're models. They're meant to, mostly represent what happens. Is with the flowchart. So here's a video that I showed last time if you want to check it out. Or here's one that I made with my other class. I had a class yesterday doing the same lesson, and we made one together, and it said, what video game should I get? And then the first question was, do you have a Nintendo Switch? Okay, so if they say no, then we keep going on the main branch. But if they say yes, we said, hey, do you have $60? If yeah, get Breath of the Wild. That's like the big ticket item. If no, we say get Celeste, because that's my favorite. Celeste is a, probably $15 indie game that you might get if you didn't have enough for this one. Obviously, we could have made that 10 times more complicated. It could have said, oh, do you like puzzle games? Do you like stealth games? Do you like et cetera, or have you played this thing before? But the idea is that that's a little sub branch on the side, but if they said no, then you keep going down the main branch. We said, do you have a PS4? Yeah, for this one we decided to make it simple. It could have been a huge branch on its own. It's like, oh, do you like single player games? Well, maybe you get Bloodborne. Or do you like cartoony stuff? Then maybe you get something else. But somebody in that class shouted out, tell them to get Call of Duty. And I said, okay. And then we say, oh, if no, we'll keep going down this main branch. Do you have an Xbox? Sure, get Halo. I don't know anything about Xbox. I've never had one. There's probably a whole universe of possibilities over here. No, well, you keep going down this main branch. Or do you have a PC? Is it a new, high-end, important, or not important, but like, powerful machine? Then you might get a newer, nice graphical thing. If not, maybe you get something that's a little more timeless and lower demand on your, it doesn't have like ray tracing and stuff. And if you say no to all these, if we're continuing to go down, and I said, oh, get a phone, a mobile game, I'm not saying you have to agree with these. I don't agree with most of these, but the idea is that we have this chain of possibilities, and if you say yes to one, then you get off. It's like a highway where you get off on this exit and go in that little branch, and if you say no, then you keep going on the main hall. So your guys' assignment, and I got a third of them turned in, but your guys' assignment was to make a flowchart, and you could do it on paper. I had a couple that were just drawn on paper, and they take a picture and put it on there, and that allows for the most freedom, of course. Don't hand me the actual paper, just put the photo, because then it'll be in the same place as all the others and everything. Or you could do it on your device, like a Chromebook, and this is one I recommended. It's a site called Flowchart, but there are plenty of others. If you Google it, you'll see a site called Zen Flowchart, I think, and that works well. I think there's another one called Creately or something. They all have a similar thing. So let's do one quickly that we make up on our own, just to show an example. And maybe get some input from you. So we're going to start with this rounded one. It's called a Terminator, not like the robot played by Arnold, but Terminator means the end of something, from Latin terminus. So we're going to use these at the end of each branch, like a terminal in an airport is the end of that particular path. Or Terminator is also a term they use in astronomy. If you're talking about like the end of the sunlight on the moon or something, it's the edge of the day. So we're also going to use it for our beginning. And what should our thing be? What would be a good topic? We can make a quick flowchart. Anybody got a? It could be like helping someone find what they want. Like if you go into a shoe store and they go, "Oh, do you want running shoes, or do you want weightlifting shoes, or do you want something else?" Or it could be a process, like, oh, if you have a broken speaker, well, you check this, then you check this, then you check this. There are a couple different perspectives to look at this from. But anybody got a? No? Okay. So I'm not gonna wait, but what I'm gonna do is fill in one and hopefully get some input on the specific elements. I'm gonna say this is gonna be a question that I got in real life very recently, just like an hour ago. Somebody said, "Hey, I turned on my board in the classroom, the Promethean board, and I'm getting no sound." Okay, so this is what somebody said in real life. I'm going to say smart board because that's sort of the generic term for these. Okay, so my first question to this person was the most basic. If I didn't know, I might say, what kind of board is it, if I didn't know. But I knew this person and their room. So I said, did you check the power? Okay. And that's really a two-parter. I'm going to combine it into one to make this quick. But it's really like, is it plugged in and is the switch on? But I'm going to combine those. Because if that's not true, then none of the other stuff matters. Subtle settings or whatever don't matter if the power's off. So I said, is the power connected and on? I'm going to give two possibilities from there, a yes and a no. Theoretically, there could be more, but generally you like to break it up into yes or no. And so the no is going to be our exit. It's going to be like, okay, we're leaving. Because that's going to be like an obvious what to do next. So I'm going to say, well, plug it in. Turn it on. And we could end it right there, right? We could say that the chance of that solving the problem is so high that that's probably enough. The issue could be something else, right? It could have been that and some other issue, so we could theoretically keep going after that to check. But let's leave it for a second. Let's say they told me yes. And by the way, sometimes it guesses wrong on what you want for your arrows. Like this one put a no, even though I want it to be yes. So I'm going to just double click and change that. I'm going to say, come on, man. Okay. I'm going to say, what about the input from the computer? Okay, is the computer connected to it and it's set to the right, you know, HDMI 2 or whatever? Is the input connected and selected? So you plug it into the computer, you choose it on your source menu, and that's another very likely thing. Whenever you're doing the tech support type of flowchart, you want the most likely ones first, because they will prevent you from having to go through the other ones. You know, if we put some very rare thing as the first question, then we would end up asking that so much of the time and not needing it, because we'd be going through to other stuff. Were you raising your hand?
Yeah, because usually it's usually fixed by turning it on and off again.
Yeah, I mean, that is the classic joke about IT, is that
Have you tried turning it on and off again?
For a computer or for anything, that helps. And that's because it's the best shot, right? Like, if we put something rare at the beginning, if we put like, oh, have you, you know, opened up the cable and tinkered with the wires inside and twisted one in just the right way to fix bite from a mouse or something, it was like, well, okay, that might be the case, but
what's the chance of that happening?
If we ended up asking that first every time, it would only catch it 1 out of every million, and we'd end up wasting the time on the other million minus 1. So the rare stuff you want to save for later. Usually that's, now, okay, it's always depends on the situation. For example, if you were doing the flowchart of a game strategy, like of what to look for every turn if you're making an AI or something, then you might put some rare stuff first if it's like an insta win, you know, because you want to take that every time it's available. But once you start looking at those, you'll kind of have a feel for the priorities. So let's say, is the input connected and selected? What if they say no? Okay, it's guessing wrong every time on these, which means I'm going to have to fix it, but that's okay. And I'm going to actually say a pretty similar thing to the one above. I'm going to say connect the HDMI and select the input. I'm going to say source, because I think that's what they call it on the menu. I don't remember on the different models of boards. But let's say maybe I'm talking to somebody who already did that stuff before they got to me. You know, they're not completely afraid of messing with the board, and they obviously check the power and check to make sure it's connected. So then we might get to like the actual computer stuff. We might say, is this available and selected in Windows as the output? And obviously this text is way too big, so I can make the text smaller, or I could make my little shape bigger. When you highlight, that messes up the arrow though. I gotta, oh no, gotta be careful sometimes. So if they say no, then I'll say, okay, go to your little setting. If you go to the bottom right, choose that as your thing, etc., etc. choose the speakers and video output. Sometimes it'll be separate. For these boards, sometimes you have to choose the audio and the video separately. Sometimes it's one thing, especially if it's one cable with HDMI. And then what I say in real life, if they get past all the obvious stuff, is I say, okay, now I'm going to come look at it. Because it's hard to do most complex stuff over the phone if you're trying to describe what they should see on their settings or what they should do on a, back panel of the screen or something. So now you say, okay, I'm going to take a look. And that's not the end, because once I go there, I would start a whole new flowchart of my own things to look for, what they are. But this is a sort of nice illustration of the priorities and the path I might go down. And this one's actually very common and very realistic, because like I said, I did that this morning and I did that yesterday when somebody asked just this question. This video is getting a bit long. I never want to make these super long because then people wouldn't want. Oh no, I got a chat message that says we can't see the screen. What do you mean? Can you see my webcam? Can you see the screen share? I have to say, I was going to end this anyway, so what I'm going to do right after this is watch the YouTube and see what it says. But I'm also going to respond in the text in the chat in case they can only see text and they can't hear me at the moment. Say I'm sorry, I'll end the video and check it right now and fix it for next time. But like I said, I was going to end the video and because I don't want to make these super long. So your assignment is to make a flowchart, any type of example. It could be a sort of customer service type thing, like, oh, can I help you choose the right shoe if you're in a shoe store, or can I help you choose the right car if you're a car dealer? Or it could be something like a process that you go through whenever a problem comes up, or it could be something even more farther away from tech support. Like it could be a choose your own adventure story, like, oh, I'm locked in a room with a vampire, do you want to fight or run? I choose run, and then it goes into its own branch. Choose fight, and it goes into its own branch. This is not the same topic as your project. By the way, whatever you choose for this is not what you have to do for your project. This is just a little practice version to get you in the mindset. And when we do the real chatbot, it works kind of like this, but in some ways it's better because you can have it remember variables, so you don't ever have to ask the same thing twice or duplicate any branches. So we'll get to that as we go. I'm not going to add a new assignment because I only had a few turned in on this one. I don't want people to get behind. But on next class, we'll have a new assignment, and the one after that, we're going to start getting groups for our project and so on. Once you get the project going, then you'll know what to do every day because you'll be talking to your group and doing what's next and building up from there. So you should never be bored once we get started on that. Thanks.